Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Hallmarkies podcast. And we are really excited today to be here for a bonus episode. We are talking all things streaming for 2022. And there's no better person to talk about that with than my friend Austin Burke is here. And Austin, thank you so much for coming on the podcast.
Oh, you're welcome. I watch too many things, and I'm very excited to talk about all of the things that I watch or have been watching over the last couple of months. And Rachel, I want to thank you so much for allowing me to be here. I'm excited to talk about some good and some bad.
Yes. Would you say, as a whole, that it's been a pretty strong 2022 for movies and for series as a whole?
I think so. It's been rough in spots. Like there have been patchy weeks with not a lot of things going on, and there have been weeks where I've given a lot of bad reviews, but the heights and the peaks, I feel like they've been stronger than the heights and peaks in 2021. So far, I think it's a better year than last year, and I'm really excited to see what we have left because there's still a lot of great things coming on streaming.
Which is surprising because if you think about last year, we had all those day and date releases, so
Mhm.
there was so much coming to streaming.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd agree that this year there's been a lot of surprises, things I wasn't expecting to like, things I thought I was going to hate, and then I ended up really enjoying, like Chip and Dale, for instance. Which was
Yeah.
so much
Yeah.
fun.
Me too. Me too.
Uh, and I thought, oh, this is going to be terrible by the trailers, but it ended up being really fun. But we're going to go over each of the different main services. We'll talk about some highs and lows,
Mhm.
and I also threw in a little bit of network just because there are a couple things that I just wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Um, but let's dive in. Let's start with Amazon, and
Okay.
I don't know if you agree, but I feel like that they are one of the more underrated streaming services.
Yes, especially not only movies, but especially with these smaller TV shows that not a lot of people are talking about weekly. I mean, you have the big ones like The Boys, right? But there are other shows that I feel like they just come and go. But I watch them, I'm like, that was really good. Why is no one
Mhm.
talking about that? So yeah, I think Amazon is definitely underrated. That's the word.
Yeah, yeah. One of the big surprises for me, and we talked about it in our Valentine's episode with Natasha Alvar, was I Want You Back. I didn't know
Mm,
anything about it. I went to a screening for it, and I thought it was so funny. I laughed throughout. It was very sweet. It was a really nice movie, not just about romance, but about friendship. And
true.
I just thought the script was really solid in it.
I enjoyed that movie. I don't think I liked it as much as some of my peers. I thought it was a little up and down tonally at times, but in
Mm.
terms of a sweet romantic style comedy that you can just kind of turn off your brain and watch, I enjoyed it for that reason. And I really loved the cast in that film. There have been a lot of those
Mhm.
genuinely surprising rom-coms this year, and I think that one's a really good example.
Which makes me so happy, obviously. It's Sal Murky's podcast, but I mean, we had a drought for a long time with
Yes, we did.
no with no romantic comedies being released, or very few. And I was actually just talking with my friend Stanford about it, that I think it's a lot of it is to blame, sort of the romantic comedies that were being released between like 2006 and 2012
Mhm.
were really bad. There were so many terrible ones in that kind of period that I think everybody just kind of got burnt out, and they
Yeah.
thought, oh well, it's just a bad genre.
Yeah.
And they forget that it can be done very well and be very funny. And the love stories are hopeful. We want more. At least I
I
do.
I'll tell you one thing. There's a movie. It hasn't come out yet, but it is coming to Apple TV Plus called Cha Cha Real Smooth, and
Hmm.
that's an example of the rom coms that go a bit of a different direction, yet they still fall firmly into that category, and they're so wonderful and warm. And if we could continue to get more things like that, I mean, it's in my top 5 movies of the year. I think that would be amazing. But so far this year, nothing really on that level. But there have been a couple, especially on streaming, that I've been like, oh, that was sweet. That was sweet. That was sweet.
Yeah.
And it already feels like more than last year, and we're only in June. So I think
Hmm.
that's a good thing.
Yeah. So we also got the series with Love on Amazon, and I enjoyed this for the most part. I thought it was well done. The only thing I guess I didn't like is that I thought they put the lead with the wrong guy. I was like,
Mm,
I liked the other guy much better than the guy she ended up with.
okay.
I forget the names, but I don't know. I think his name was Manny. I don't know. I just thought the other guy that was kind of portrayed as sort of a big lug.
Yeah.
I thought that he was better than the lead
Okay.
guy. That
Okay.
and I'm like, no, change it. It was Nick. It was Nick was the one that
Okay.
I liked.
Yeah.
I thought was better than the guy that she ended up with. And I mean, but Emerald Tobia is one of the most beautiful people in the world. She's gorgeous. She was gorgeous in it. I mean, did you see this?
I didn't get to see it, but I think the cast is all of them are like really amazing looking people, first of all, but just really amazing actors in general. And I heard a lot of
Yeah.
people talking about how sweet of a show this was. So I really want to check
Mhm.
it out. So you think it was worth watching for me?
Yeah, I think so. And
Okay.
it is really good as far as representation.
Okay.
Yeah, which I like both
Yes.
culturally and LGBTQ.
Yes.
So that's good. Um, what else did you see on Amazon that you might want to recommend?
Yeah, yeah, I saw a couple of things. Well, just last week or so, I watched a movie called Emergency, which I thought was an interesting film. I didn't love it, but it was an okay journey with, I think, 3 really strong lead
Yeah.
performances.
I
So I appreciated that.
I really loved Emergency, actually. I'm kind of with
Nice.
you about Cha-Cha. I'm kind of the same with you about Cha-Cha Real Smooth as you are about Emergency. Like
Wow, okay.
I liked it fine.
Okay.
But I really didn't like the ending. Wasn't my
Oh,
favorite. I
yeah.
especially what happens with Dakota Johnson's character and them
Ah,
trying to
okay.
like pass it off as a happy ending for her character, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"What?
Oh, I
No."
loved it. I loved that. I thought it was
No,
great.
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Um, and so yeah, kind of the same. Good. I loved Emergency. I thought it was so good. I thought it was tense and had a message, but it wasn't overbearing. It was managed to be funny, I
Sure.
was,
Yeah.
but it was very tense at the same time.
Yes.
And I had kind of a rough Sundance. I didn't have much that I liked.
I know. Same here. For me, Cha Cha Real Smooth was, like, far and away the best movie of Sundance. I liked Emergency. I thought my big issue with the film was the fact that there's this mystery of sorts of how this girl got there, and they
Hmm.
give you no sense of payoff at the end, and I just found it to be a really lackluster ending, but I really enjoyed the journey, and like you said, I think there's a lot of really good comedy mixed with drama in there, so I think that's a solid movie on Amazon. In terms of other movies, I don't know if there's another movie I would recommend. There was one called All the Old Knives with Chris Pine that I thought was
Oh.
it was a little boring, kinda just, okay, it's on there, but I thought Amazon had some really strong showings in the TV category this year. 3 shows in particular, and I'll just name actually 4, you know what, we'll go 4, and I'll name them off super quick. Um, Outer Range and Night Sky kind of fit in a similar category, one with J.K. Simmons and, Sissy Spacek, and then Outer Range is the show with Josh Brolin, and they're both sci-fi. They're both a little slower, but really interesting. I think Night Sky brought it home a bit better at the end of the day, but they're both setting up for big things in season 2, so let's hope they get season 2. The next one is Upload season 2. Did you get a chance to watch Upload, Rachel?
I haven't heard of that one.
Yeah, so this is the creator of The Office, and it's Robbie Amell. He's the lead, and this was his show, not Space Force, because Space Force came out that year. This was his other show, and I think this show is so much better than Space Force. So much better. It's a guy who goes into a digital afterlife when he dies. And it's this thing that has been created. It's like an artificial intelligence. So instead of going to heaven or whatever you believe, you go into this digital world and your consciousness is uploaded and it's a comedy. So really good series. But the last one is Reacher, the new Jack Reacher film or television show, which I think is better than the movie, especially the second movie. Really entertaining series. And the lead, the guy who plays Jack Reacher, is awesome. I think I like this one more than a lot of critics, but I thoroughly enjoyed this. I had a great time with it.
I heard really good things about it.
It's great.
Yeah. Um, Another one that I didn't go fresh on, but I think our audience will enjoy some is The Book of Love. Sam Coughlin is, I think, the next Sam Coughlin, I think, is the next Hugh Grant. He's
Mm,
so charming.
okay.
There were things about it that didn't work for me, but it was a cute enough
Okay.
rom-com
It's a
if
good
you're
sign.
jonesing for one, which I know many of our listeners are. So,
Yes.
I only saw one new show on Apple Plus
All right.
this season, and that was Acapulco. And I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very sweet. It's Eugenio Derbez, who I really like. I
I
think
do
he's
too.
so charismatic and really good. And he's telling a story to his son about his experience as a young adult working at this resort in Acapulco. And it's charming, it's sweet, it's funny.
Yeah.
The kid who plays the young Eugenio is good. And yeah, it's I think it's a little underrated. We haven't heard anybody talk about it, but it's actually a good show.
Interesting. I haven't been able. I only watch. It's funny, Rachel. I only watch one show on Apple too, and I didn't even write it down, but I should have. It's Severance. Have you been hearing
Yeah.
talk of the?
I've heard so much, and they did send me a care package.
Okay, there you go.
So, I haven't watched the show yet, so it didn't really work. Sorry,
I
but
didn't. I didn't review
but
it. I just watched it, so I didn't even get to talk about it on my channel.
oh really?
Yeah,
Yeah. What'd you think?
that was great. I
Hmm.
I heard the ending was like wild, so I said, okay, I'll go back, and it's one of those that Madison and I watched together. But we watched it, and I was like, okay, episode one's fine. But by the time we got to the end, I'm like, I'm hooked. I'm ready for the next season. It's great. I think Ben Stiller is the showrunner here, which is super cool, and I love the cast. So
Hmm.
I think it's worth a watch for sure.
What kind of show is it? I was a little bit unclear from the trailers and things like that. Like, is it a comedy?
Sci-fi,
Sci-fi. Okay.
sci-fi drama thriller. Um, it gets crazy. It gets kind of dark. I mean, there are comedic
Hmm.
beats in it for sure, but it is not what you expect from a name like Ben Stiller. I'll say
Yeah.
that much.
I know a lot of people really enjoyed Pachinko. Haven't had a chance to see that
Hmm,
on Apple
I heard that.
Plus.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but
heard
I
good things.
also got a care package. So their care packages are not working, but please still send them to me.
That's awesome. That's so good.
But we'd like to take a second from this episode of the podcast to celebrate our sponsor of this episode, and that is the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast?
Do you want an inside scoop into what happens on the podcast?
Do you want early access to episodes and loads of cool perks?
Now is the time to become a patron of Hallmarkies Podcast.
By becoming a patron, you get to access our patron Facebook group.
You can request episodes or even be a guest on the podcast.
And most importantly, any patron can join our monthly movie watch-alongs with stars like Paul Campbell, Natalie Hall, and more.
It's as low as $2 a month to join in and become a special part of the Hallmarkies family.
Please consider, and we will love you forever.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies. Well,
let's talk about Disney Plus.
Mm.
And they had I think a pretty strong season so far for Disney Plus.
Yes, they did.
Well, actually, I say that, and there was a bunch that I didn't like. So, but I was really surprised by Chip and Dale. It was so
good.
funny. I thought it was so clever. I was not expecting to like it. I'm not somebody invested in Chip and Dale at all.
Same.
Rescue Rangers. I don't, so I don't know. It was just very clever, very funny.
Yeah. I didn't love the story itself, but I thought like the focus on the two characters, the voice cast was great. Sandberg was awesome. John Mulaney fit the character perfectly. I'm like, this is everything I wanted. And the cameos and the Easter eggs, man. The ugly Sonic. How could you not love? ugly. So
It
that was
was
so good.
it was so funny, and I was shocked. I didn't I was shocked that Disney got that from, what is it, Paramount?
Yeah,
That
I don't
they
know
managed to
how.
make that work.
Yeah.
I was really surprised at some of those cameos. I'm like, "Oh, the Friendship is Magic ponies are in here for, stuff like that." It was
Batman versus
really,
E.T. I mean, come on.
yeah,
It was
it
what?
was so funny.
Yeah.
Um, well, what did you think of Moon Knight?
I was iffy through the first couple of episodes, but I actually really liked the twist, and I really liked the way it played out. So
Mhm.
I enjoy Moon Knight. My biggest complaint is I wanted more action from the series. I think that's the one thing, because Moon Knight is a brutal character from the comics. But I will say,
Mm.
as trippy as the show was, and as crazy as all the twists and turns were, the comics are trippier. The comics are
Mm.
crazier. So people who thought this show was too crazy, go read the comics and you'll be like, man, they kind of played it safe. So
Oh,
'cause the
wow.
comics are insane. But overall, I thought Oscar Isaac gave a awards-worthy performance. He was phenomenal
Mhm.
in the
It
show.
was really good.
Yeah, yeah.
I enjoyed it overall. It was a little confusing to me, so that's very interesting that you say that.
I'll tell you what I did,
'Cause I was
Rachel.
kinda like, "What is happening?" I'm so uh,
Before I watched the first episode, my cousin and I, we do a separate podcast every few weeks, and we did a deep
uh-huh.
dive into Moon Knight lore. That helped me so
Oh, yeah.
much. We talked about Moon Knight for an hour, and I knew every character going in. I knew every situation. I was not confused one time, but for someone that didn't do an hour deep dive before watching, I completely understand, because there was so much in that show that was confusing.
Yeah, yeah, it really was. Well, one of my most unpopular opinions this
Mhm.
year is that I did not care for Turning Red.
You're
It's
not
the
alone.
first Pixar movie that I've gone rotten on, which is
Cars
shocking.
2? You didn't go rotten on
Yeah,
Cars 2? That movie stinks.
I didn't go I thought it
Oh,
was, like, harmless,
oh, it harmed me.
silly, silly movie. But
Oh,
this, I just didn't think that the metaphor worked. I didn't
okay.
like it. I didn't like the portrayal of the mother. I
Mm,
was fine with the animation. I was fine with the topics that they were trying to portray, but I didn't think they did a good job at it. I mean, the
okay.
whole thing is that she, by the end, decides to embrace the panda. But the
Yeah,
thing about that I didn't really like is there's this whole ritual that goes along with supposedly not embracing the panda, right? That
okay,
like allows you to, I don't know what, the ritual made no sense to me.
okay.
And so eh, if it's supposed to be a metaphor for your period and for puberty, which I'm fine with, um, then why do we have this ritual, and why does she get to choose? You don't get to choose whether you have puberty or not. Like, it happens. And so
Sure.
I think as a teenager, I don't think it's would be very helpful to watch this movie, because it's not it's not helping you deal with what's actually happening. It's
Okay.
presenting this weird reality where you can like choose to experience it or not. And so I was just kind of like, you this didn't work for me, this metaphor. And then I found the mother so over the top
She
and
was. I agree.
ridiculous, unhinged, and kind of a cliche. I feel like they talk about the tiger moms Asian cinema and Asian literature, that these sort of over the top caricatures, and she was one of the worst I've ever seen.
Mm.
Like her storming into that convenience store, I just thought was like
Yeah, I didn't like that scene.
ridiculous. And I don't know, I just didn't like it. I didn't think it was funny. I didn't even really like the boy band, because
Mm.
I just felt like this should be set in 2022. You could have K-pop, and that would be, I mean, I know it's different than it's, Korean, but
Yeah,
still it would make so much more sense than like a white boy band. I just think that would be really interesting. And I don't know, I just didn't like it.
that's fair. I think that's very fair. I'm on the other side of you with the nostalgia, the early 2000s stuff, because I'm an early 2000s kid.
Yeah.
So give me all the boy band stuff. Give me all the early 2000s, because that was very. It hit home with, I think, who they were trying to hit home with, and that was people who grew up in the early 2000s. So I thought they nailed that, because I mean, I know I'm a tough, I'm listening to Linkin Park and Fall Out Boy, but I won't lie, little Backstreet Boys and NSYNC when I was growing up, man. Even I saw them as like the thing, and all
Mhm.
the girls around me were like boy bands, boy bands. So that actually, I thought that captured it really well, because
But
that's
don't you think that
how.
would have been good to have like BTS? Like they could have had if it was set now.
Maybe the director did it based off of her childhood, so
Yeah.
I don't even. I'll be honest with you, I
I mean,
don't
that's
listen
a
to
small
music.
nitpick. For me,
Yeah,
the other critiques were more important,
I
but
don't
yeah.
really. I don't know a lot about BTS, so I can't. I don't listen to. I listen to movie scores, so I'm like, you say BTS, I'm like, okay, I
The
don't know what that
K-pop.
is. Yeah, I just still don't know.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah.
not like, I don't know. I'm not into the that stuff. Music in general. But I'm with you on, I think, the first 30 minutes. I didn't mind the actual panda stuff, like the lore. I thought was really interesting. Um, I thought the third act was a lot better than the first act, but this is why it's lower Pixar for me, because
Mhm.
the first act was so. It was like it was trying to be the quick paced Lego movie type humor without the charm of the Lego movie. It was
Yeah.
trying to be a Lord and Miller film without the charm of Lord and Miller. Like, I look at Mitchell's versus the Machines, and while very different film, obviously, that quick style of humor,
Yeah.
which is what this movie tried to do, this film botched it in the first act. Like, I feel the same way. I enjoy Spider-Man Far From Home, but I thought the humor in the first half of that movie was so lackluster, and that's how I feel
Yeah.
about Turning Red. And I'm with you on the overbearing mother. That scene where she storms into the gas station, I'm like, this is it's too cartoonish for me. And it may
Yeah.
be accurate to her life. I mean, I know she was basing this off of, but even then, I'm like, I just don't like how unrealistic this feels. It got a lot better
Yeah.
for me in the second half, but I am definitely lower. It is bottom tier Pixar for me. I think I enjoyed it, sort of, but that's not what you want from a Pixar movie. You want to be over the moon, and I just wasn't. So I was very
Yeah.
disappointed in Turning Red, kind of like you were.
Yeah. Well, another one that I had, I guess, an unpopular opinion. I don't know what most people thought of this movie on Disney Plus. Is I didn't like better than Nate, or the Nate the Great, or whatever.
I didn't either. I didn't either.
I was
I gave it
expecting to
rotten.
love it because I'm a theater girl. I
Yeah.
love Broadway. I love, show tunes. I was expecting to really enjoy it, but I thought he was such an annoying.
Yep, I'm with you, Rachel. I'm right. I couldn't believe I gave it a rotten in my. I didn't do a YouTube review, but I did Letterbox and
Uh-huh.
all those things, and I was looking at the scores. I'm like, did I just watch a different movie than everyone else? Because I just did.
Yeah.
It was so cliche, and I've seen this
And there's
journey 1,000 times, but I just didn't really like the way it played out. I
Yeah, and
just.
there were only like 2 songs, so it couldn't
Yeah,
save it for me on a musical level, which
yeah,
could have I am a easy please when it comes to musicals. So it
sure.
could have saved me there, but yeah, I did
I'm with you.
not enjoy it. I didn't think it was very good. Another one for Disney Plus that I didn't enjoy, and this is gonna sound funny,
Okay.
but their latest Disney nature film, Polar
Oh,
Bear, was terrible.
I
I don't know how
kept
you make
getting
it.
I kept getting emails about Polar Bear. I'm like, do I want to watch Polar Bear? But now I have no reason to. So thank you, Rachel.
Well,
Thank
so
you.
they always try to anthropomorphize the animals in these Disney nature
Mm,
films. Be like,
okay.
yeah, like Jerry the chimpanzee was going, and they make try to make this whole story. But in this one, they make it even worse because it's in first person. And I don't know why they did that. But it'd be
What?
like the polar bear will be like, this was the best day of my life. I'm like, what?
What?
Yeah, it was
No,
so
that's
dumb.
awkward.
It was terrible. And it was just it was bad. It was definitely the worst, I think. Well, there's one with Meryl Streep where about butterflies that's
Okay.
really bad. Um, this one was right there with it. It was
Feels like
terrible.
something you'd be forced to watch in like 4th grade. Your teacher goes out of the room. They're like, "Here, just watch this." And even the 4th graders are like, "What is this?" You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
what you're describing, that's what it feels like to me.
And I like some of the Disney nature documentaries. I There's one called The Crimson Wing about these flamingos that
All
I
right.
became so invested in when I'm watching. I like seriously, I was like, "What? No!" So they can work for me, but not this one. The other one that I really didn't care for
All right.
was Cheaper by the Dozen. I did not like
Oh,
it.
same.
I
Oh,
felt
yeah.
like it had good intentions. They were trying to do something,
Mhm.
uh, tell a story, a diverse story. Everybody seemed like they were having a good time making it,
Yeah.
but I did not like it. The whole plot with him like trying to set up this diner franchise and oh, he's not there for the family even though it seemed like he was there a lot, and just all the conflict I hated for the most part.
Yeah.
It was bad. It was
Well,
just
you're here. What are you watching Cheaper by the Dozen for? It's clearly for the kids and those kids, their interaction with the parents and the family dynamic, right? So that storyline, I forgot it was a diner. I'm glad you said that. That diner
breakfast
storyline,
diner.
it was so dumb. I mean, why make this more complicated than it needs to be? Let it be a
Yeah,
sweet family movie. And those moments in the movie were cute. They were self-aware, they were silly, they were cute. And I'm like, oh, the kids are great. They're such sweet
yeah,
kids. Um, Especially the storyline where it all kind of culminates at the end. I thought that was sweet. But everything with the adults and the fact that it focused on them so much, I'm just like, that was my issue with Home Alone, the new Home Alone movie. Except
hmm,
I enjoyed that one much less than this one. It focused on the villainous characters instead of the Home Alone storyline.
yeah.
And this one did a similar thing. I'm like, Disney, it's very easy. Just do it, keep it simple, and I think people will enjoy. But they didn't do that, unfortunately.
Yeah, they should just look at Timmy Failure
Oh,
and
I like that
see,
movie.
because
Yeah.
that was the best one they've done. I
Yes.
loved that movie, and just kind of try to recreate that all
Yeah,
again
I
because
agree. I really
I
enjoyed Timmy Failure.
I mean, I've never been like the biggest fan of the Steve Martin Cheaper by the Dozen, but
They're
I
okay.
mean it's fine, but it's way better than this.
Agreed. Agreed.
Way better. One streaming service I wanted to mention that. Or did you have anything else for Disney Plus that you wanted to mention?
No, as far I mean, I know we're watching Obi-Wan right now. That won't be over until the end, but yeah, I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure we haven't had another Marvel series, right? I think that's it.
No, no.
Yeah,
I mean, I've seen the first two episodes of Miss Marvel,
me too.
which are so cute. I
Yep,
loved it,
I agree.
and I enjoyed Obi-Wan. I don't know. I thought I especially liked anything with Leia.
Oh,
She was
yes.
very good.
I love young Leia. She is a wonderful I want her to get a lot of roles after this because she is a wonderful, wonderful actor.
Hmm. Did you watch the Boba Fett? I didn't watch it.
I did. I thought Boba Fett was okay. The 2 episodes that everyone talked about, they were phenomenal, the one with all the cameos, but those 2
Isn't
episodes didn't focus on Boba Fett.
Yeah, that's
So
what I heard.
so I loved them. They were some of the coolest Star Wars things ever, ever.
Yeah.
But in the context of the show, I'm like, "Oh, okay."
Hmm.
So but the show was still fun. I like Boba Fett's story and exploring all those things, but I was kind of underwhelmed. I wanted it to be Mandalorian, and it just
Yeah.
wasn't that level of quality.
The one almost forgot, but I really enjoyed Visions, the anime.
Yes, I
That was
enjoyed
really
that show.
cool. That was a fun
Yes.
project. It was very creative, and I'm excited we're gonna have season two.
Yes. That is
Yeah, it was
awesome.
just cool to see like different artists take on Star Wars, and I think it showed to a lot of people that anime isn't always like Pokemon or Digimon. I think a lot of people
Sure.
kind of have it in that they think of it as it's all like that, but no, there's all different kinds of art styles and tones and everything that you get. There's goofy, there's
Yes.
serious, there's everything in between. So
Yes.
I thought that was cool that they
It's a great show.
used the platform to promote. and whole art form, which I thought was neat.
I agree.
All right. One I just wanted to mention real quick that, again, this is a network one. This is on Fox.
Okay.
It was the Impeachment American Crime Story. I think it was super underrated. I think it was incredibly well done. I mean, these are all events that we know,
Yeah.
but they you got to see the inside perspective.
Yes.
And somebody like, I mean, Sarah Paulson was so good as Linda Tripp. I wouldn't even have known it was her. I mean, she completely immersed herself in the role.
Okay.
I thought Beanie was really good as Monica Lewinsky. The only thing that didn't really work for me was the Bill Clinton. I
Oh.
don't know. I didn't love
Okay.
that portrayal, but I just thought it was a super underrated, very interesting, very well written um, show. And I think it's a shame it won't get any like Emmy love and stuff. People just weren't in the mood for it, I guess. But I really liked it. So
Yeah, that's one I saw the trailers. I loved the trailers. So
yeah,
I'm pretty bummed out that I missed that. One of these days I'd like to, because I think Beanie Feldstein, is that her name? Right? Beanie
yeah,
Feldstein. She is awesome. Like, I love her. So
yeah,
I want to see her knock this role out, and I think she will.
yeah. She does. And I mean, I didn't realize just how incredibly naive Monica was, and she
Yeah.
really thought that she was in love with him, that he was going to leave. Like, what? How could you think
Jeez.
that? But she was very, very, very naive. And
Yeah.
and Linda's perspective, I mean, it makes sense, kind of why she decided to do what she did,
Yeah.
to protect herself. But then it kind of spiraled out of control, and
Sure.
I don't know. It was just very interesting. And I liked Lorraine. I think it's Lorraine Falco.
Yeah.
Anyway, played Hillary. She was good.
Okay.
Um,
Cool.
I don't know. I just, like I said, I just thought it was very underappreciated, and I liked it. And
Good
maybe
to know.
part of it is that I was a teen in the '90s, so
Yeah.
all of that happening kind of was very memorable, and so. All right. Well, let's talk about HBO Max. I think HBO Max has had a very good 2022. Would you agree?
I haven't watched as many things as I've needed to on HBO Max. I've been a little behind, but there have been some standouts. A movie in particular that I think we'll talk about. So yeah, what I've seen, I've really enjoyed on
Mhm.
HBO.
So they've had, I don't know if this is the movie you're referring to, but they had The Fallout, which
Yes,
is directed by Megan Park, who's been in a ton of Hallmark movies. So we're super proud of her.
that's awesome.
Uh, and this is not a Hallmark movie, that's for sure,
No,
but it's really good.
no, no, it's not.
It might be too close to home for the moment for people. They maybe wait a little bit. But
Yeah,
it's about a girl who is a witness, I guess, to a school shooting, and her
yeah.
sort of how she deals with that. And it was very well done.
I loved this movie. I saw it way back when at a festival and was able to rewatch it when it came out or came out for the first time on HBO. And this movie was shocking because I didn't know the premise when I saw it for the first time. Like, I saw I think the cheap poster that they made, and I knew the cast. So when what happens in the film, I'm sitting back going, "Oh, that's where we're going." But even after that, it's not really where we went. It was a very personal story. It
Yeah.
wasn't big. It didn't have any action. It wasn't the kind of movie that you think it's going to be. It was personal and exploring the relationship with her family and this friendship that she makes. And the girl's name that was from Music, the co-star in this film, really
Hmm.
Music was a movie that I couldn't stand. She redeems herself in this film. She was wonderful in this film. I thought the cast as a whole was great. This is, I think it's still in my top 10 of the year. It's a great movie and it's worth a watch.
Yeah. Is Maddie Ziegler.
Yes.
She was very good in it.
Awesome.
And Jenna Ortega is excellent in the
Yes, she
lead.
is.
So I saw it at Sundance
Me too.
in 2021, I think. And I thought it was very good.
Me too.
A couple others that I saw, I thought Moonshot was cute with Lana Condor and
Sprouse,
Cole
right?
Sprouse.
Yeah.
I
Me see that one.
it was fairly predictable, but I enjoyed
Okay.
it. I liked the first season of or like the series Julia, about Julia Child. I think they didn't really get her voice right, so it was a little hard for me to kind of get immersed a little bit, but I still overall enjoyed it. Sarah Lancashire playing Julia Child. It's a
Okay.
pretty hard character to play because she's just so larger than life. But I thought she did a pretty good job, and I liked David Hyde Pierce as Paul Child, Bebe Neuwirth as Avis. Um, it was just pleasant. I love Julia Child. She's one of my like
Mhm.
heroes. So I will watch anything about Julia Child. So
Okay. Yeah, I
yeah.
wasn't able to check that one out.
Yeah. Of course, on this podcast we covered And Just Like That. And it was a mixed bag, to be generous.
All
It
right.
wasn't great. I'm surprised they're a little surprised they're doing season 2. Particularly what they did with Miranda and with Steve. We weren't a fan of. We didn't like that. But yeah, it was fun to cover. We had
Okay.
a good time. We covered it every week. And now we're covering Sex in the City every week on the
Ah.
podcast because we had so much fun, me and Jax. So it had I had to mention it because it did have benefits, and I was a little nervous because I didn't know if our audience would be responsive to a mature show covering,
Yeah.
but they were, so yay, that was
All right.
awesome.
All
Yeah.
right.
um Also, the concert, if you're a Broadway buff, they have Spring Awakening, those you've known. This, I wish it was just the concert. They have all this behind the scenes stuff about Spring
Mhm.
Awakening, which was fun enough, but I would have just rather just heard the concert. But if you're a Broadway, you got to watch it.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
Broadway fan. What about you? Was there anything else that you saw on HBO Max?
Well, it's technically, I guess it's technically an HBO show, but I watched it on HBO Max. I really enjoyed this season of Euphoria.
Mm.
I really liked it. It's getting more and more intense, in my opinion. It's a very adult show. It's a very, I guess, artsy style show, and it's unlike anything I've seen, but it's given me a new appreciation for someone like Zendaya, who I've always enjoyed, but now I'm like,
Mhm.
she's actually a really good actress. And the cast of this show, they're continuing to break out and become movie star or co-lead in this film. Like, you can tell there's talent, a ridiculous level of talent, and that's why I think the show works so well, is because everyone is so good. But man, oh man, the finale of season 2 of Euphoria was great, and I thought season 2 was significantly better than season 1. So I think
Mhm.
Euphoria is, if you like that kind of show, it's different. It's very different, but I enjoy it, man. I really,
Yeah,
really
yeah.
do.
Well, let's talk about Hulu real quick.
Yeah.
Of course, we had Only Murders in the Building season
Yes.
1, and I loved that show so much.
Yeah.
It was really funny, very well done. Definitely the best thing ever made about a podcast, because usually they are terrible
Yeah.
about anything about a podcast.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. It was so charming. It was so fun. I loved it. It was great. I
I
can't wait for new
I'm
season.
completely with you. This was in my high up my top 10. It just, and I don't want to say too much. I am watching season 2 right now, so I gotta and I just rewatched season 1, so they're kind of blending together. I will just not be
Mm,
specific and say this show is so stinking entertaining. I want to say
yeah.
week to week, but episode to episode, there's always a new mystery, there's always a new character, and this trio, the most unlikely of trios I've ever seen in a show. The chemistry is ridiculous, and it works so well. And tell you what, Selena Gomez, she's really great in this show. I not that I've given her flack before, but I'm like, yeah, I like Selena Gomez, but now I'm like, she's really shocking me
Yeah.
with some of her, especially in the latter couple of episodes, just 2, 3, 4 lines, very intense, almost Emmy worthy in a way. I love her performance in this series. It was one of my favorites. I'm loving this show so far.
Yeah, it's so good, and I love Ali Stroker in the show. I think she's great. I'm a big fan of hers, and I don't, it's just charming. People should
It is.
watch it.
Yes.
Um, I think that our listeners will enjoy the valet. I
Yes.
felt like again Eugenio Derbez was so good,
Yes.
charming as this valet Parker that ends up getting involved in this whole scheme, pretending to be the boyfriend of a famous movie star. And it was a little tonally all over the place. I thought the
It was.
movie but I still overall thought it was cute. I enjoyed it.
I was surprised with this one. This was actually, I think it's one of my favorite rom-coms of the year. I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I
Yeah.
thought the chemistry between the two leads and the direction that they take their relationship, I appreciated that.
Yeah.
It's refreshing in a sense. And I like the fact that it didn't end up too cliche, which was nice.
Yeah, it was a platonic friendship, and even in
Yes.
the other relationships are kind of messy for a rom com.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Do you have anything else on Hulu you want to talk about?
Just some things that I didn't love. Deep Water. Did you watch Deep Water, Rachel?
No.
Yeah, don't watch it. It's bad. It's really bad. I love Ben Affleck.
Oh yeah, that's what that was.
I love
Yeah.
Ana de Armas. She's dating a guy that I know right now, Paul. It's kind of weird to see that. It's kind of crazy. Oh yeah,
For
she
real?
went Ben Affleck to my friend Paul. So there you go.
That's funny.
So yeah, I thought this was going to be more like more like a Fincher type Gone Girl movie, and
Yeah.
it wasn't. It was the opposite. It was poor dialogue. The action was poor, the progression was poor, and the ending was disappointing. So, not one for me. And I also watched How I Met Your Father, and didn't like it. Didn't like that show.
Yeah.
It just didn't have the magic of How I Met Your Mother. And I'm not even crazy about How I Met Your Mother. It's lacking something. So I hope it gets better. It got renewed. We'll
I
see.
was crazy about How I Met Your Mother.
Okay.
I was a huge fan.
Okay.
And then the final 2 seasons, particularly the ending, made me so mad. One of the first videos that I did on YouTube was a 20-minute rant where I cried about the ending.
Oh no, Rachel. That's not good.
It was so terrible. I hated it so much. I was so mad. And when I saw this How I Met Your Father, I'm like, no way. They're not getting a single more second of my time after what they did. I don't trust them. I don't. And I guess different people are involved and stuff, but I don't care. I'm not. No way. It was sucked. I hated it so much.
I think the writers of this show are great. I can't remember exactly what they've written on, but it was a couple of Netflix projects I really liked. So I was expecting good things, but it did the opposite of my expectations. It wasn't funny. The relationships weren't charming. I love her in the lead role. I think she's great, but everything surrounding that, I'm just like, I don't think I'll be back for season 2.
Yeah.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Right. Well, Netflix, there's so much to talk about.
Oh, yeah.
We'll probably be kind of quick on some of these, but of course, you were on our podcast when we talked about Sweet Magnolias.
Yes.
And that is such a good show. It's
Yes,
so
it
well
is.
done. It was an emotional season. It was they can't have what's his name have any more unrealized children. Children was Bill. Gonna have Bill. No more.
poor
more.
poor everyone in that town because
Yeah,
Bill
yeah.
has taken, like, he's the worst.
Yeah, he really is. But I thought what they did with Dana Sue and her husband and that whole dynamic was
Yeah.
really well done and interesting, and well acted by Brooke Elliott, of course. I just all the teen plots I thought were really well done.
Yeah.
And so I just think it's a great show. I love it.
I do too. It's definitely, especially this. I mean, your audience right now, if you are not watching Sweet Magnolias, you will
Yeah.
love it. I have recommended it to everyone. My wife, my mom and dad, and everyone's reported back great things. So I think it's a great show.
A couple animated things that I
Mhm.
loved. I think you recommended Arcane to me, and you were correct. That was incredible.
It's so good.
It was so good.
It's so good.
I loved the Cuphead show. I thought it was
Mhm.
so well done. It really has the feeling of like old 1940s shorts from Disney or from
Yeah.
Looney Tunes, from Warner Brothers. It had that feel. I thought it was great. Of course, I loved Hilda and the Mountain King. So good. I thought it was wonderful.
Yeah.
And I loved Apollo 10 and a half, A Space Age Childhood was just absolutely wonderful. And we covered, my friend Stanford and I, we covered it on our podcast. And the whole time we just were kind of sharing memories that the movie brought up. And it was one of my favorite episodes that we've ever recorded together. And that's the power of that movie. I just loved all of those projects. I know there's been a lot of hullabaloo about Netflix animation and everything that's happening, and just Netflix in general, but especially animation seems to have been gotten the chopping block a lot lately. But those projects really worked for me. I loved them.
I'm with you on all of them. Arcane is top tier. The Cuphead show was super fun. I did watch Hilda and the Mountain King because I watched Hilda because you told me to watch Hilda, and it was really good. It was
Yes,
thoroughly entertaining. I didn't see Hilda and the Mountain King when it first came out, but I did. I finally got to, and it was awesome.
After my incessant begging.
No, yes, and it was worth it. It was totally worth my time. It was one of the easiest. Hilda was one of the easier watches I've had in a while, so it was wonderful. And then Apollo 10 and a half, still one of the best movies of the year.
Yeah,
it's in my top 10. Nostalgia for something that I don't have nostalgia for, but I feel like I did have nostalgia for it. It was the weirdest experience.
Yeah,
I'm like, I was locked into Jack Black, his voiceover. I was locked in, and I was
so good.
So, and I know a lot of people were disappointed because they're like, it's not the movie I expect. It's not this. Good. I'm glad it was what it was, because that was a journey down memory lane, but they were able to unlock these things in my brain that I didn't know. Like, I started to think about my childhood, which was in a completely different time, but you'll see parallels between what these kids go through, maybe what you went through, what kids are going through now, also drastically different. But it's all about the mindset that these kids had, and going back to that place was amazing. What an experience, man! This was unlike anything I've watched.
Yeah, it was so good. A couple series that I think the listeners will enjoy is Heartstopper, which we covered on the podcast. So good, perfect.
Yeah.
I really wouldn't change anything about it. It was so heartwarming. It was so well done. It was so sweet. It was just great. I loved that show. And then Bridgerton season 2.
Yeah.
It was enemies to lovers. They made you wait and wait and wait, and I was dying, but it was really fun.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. And then also Emily in Paris season 2. It wasn't the best, but I don't know. It's something to watch, I guess.
Yeah, that's kind of how I feel about Emily in Paris in general. It's like, yeah, I guess it's worth watching, but it's like, it's fine. It's fine.
Yeah,
Rachel, yeah. I need to see Heartstopper. I didn't watch it.
It's so good.
I know. I didn't watch. I need to see it. Nothing but good things. And they renewed it 2 and 3, right? Seasons 2 and 3 for Heartstopper.
Yeah.
So
which is exciting.
I think that's a sign that it's amazing. Some series that I watched, seasons that I watched. Ozark season 4, little disappointed with the finale itself, but I enjoyed this season. I just wish the last episode was a bit better. Love, Death and Robots season 3, a huge step up from season 2. A massive step up. I did not love season 2, but there were some amazing episodes. We talk about different styles of animation like Star Wars Visions. This is a great example. And David Fincher actually directed one of these episodes, which is really, really cool. And I'd say the best recommendation is the easiest recommendation, and that is Stranger Things season 4. So far, episodes 1 through 7, I've loved it. I was a little hesitant about halfway through the season. I'm like, are they going to bring all this home? And they have so far. We still have 2 episodes left. So I love what that was able to deliver. And then just some movie. I have some things that I didn't like on Netflix too, if you want to talk about those. But I did enjoy The Adam Project, which was Ryan Reynolds. It was fun. It was cute. I think it's a good family movie. And I thought that was a nice surprise on Netflix.
Yeah, I haven't gotten to Stranger Things season 4 yet. It's just so long. I just haven't had time.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
But I talked to you, convinced you to watch RRR, which is absolutely fabulous. It's Rajamouli, who's an incredible director, and if they get him to make a Marvel movie, get ready, it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be great.
Because there's that, I've heard those rumblings, and it would be so cool. I would love to see that. But this was just such a wonderful spectacle entertainment. If you want it, the singing, the dancing, it's a buddy movie. The movie about friendship. It's really fun. Also, my favorite movie of 2021 was Tick, Tick, Boom. I absolutely loved that movie. It really spoke to me as a creator, as somebody who just keeps trying to kind of put stuff out there and hoping that the world will accept it and enjoy it. And so I just related to Jonathan's character so much. And of course, I love the music and Andrew's performance. It was just a special movie to me. I watched it so many times.
I don't know if you can see this, Rachel. I this is my YouTube history. I literally just listened to this morning 3090 Andrew Garfield. It is my obsession. I said I don't listen to a lot of music right now, which is true because I'm always watching movies. But there are movie scores and movie soundtracks that I'm obsessed with, and that is one of them.
Yeah,
Tick, Tick, Boom.
It was so good.
It's amazing. It's and I was so bummed. First of all, he was my Oscar pick. I was so bummed it didn't get a Best Picture nomination.
I know.
Movie like Don't Look Up over that. I'm like, what y'all doing? What y'all doing?
Ridiculous.
It was ridiculous, but great movie. Incredible soundtrack, heartbreaking ending. It played out in the exact way I wanted it to. And same with RRR. You were the one that pushed me over the edge. Because I got comment after comment after comment. Like, dude, watch this movie, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'll get to it. And then I saw your review and I saw the rating you gave it, and I was like, listen to your thought. Let's go. Let's see what happens. So I turned it on. And it's a long movie. Am I going to get through? Yeah, got through all of it. Worth every second. Super fun. Unlike anything I've seen before. So but I loved it. So if we get a director, the director going to Marvel.
That's just what I've heard rumblings on social media. Who knows? But I would be fascinated to see it. What he come up with.
Yeah,
I would really. It would be interesting. But yeah. So you saw some bad stuff. I mostly avoided most of the terrible stuff on Netflix. Thank goodness. Thanks to reviews like yours and others. There was stuff that wasn't as good, like The Royal Treatment or Along for the Ride. But not to me at least, not awful. What were some bad ones, I guess?
Well, in terms of disappointing, I think Space Force Season 2 was disappointing, not bad. Pieces of Her was disappointing. I wanted that to be great, but it's a Toni Collette series, not bad. In terms of bad, we have movies like The Bubble, which I thought The Bubble was going to be a wonderful satire of what happened during the pandemic. It was almost the opposite. It was unbearable to watch with the humor. It was terrible humor. The story was interesting enough, but I just couldn't get on board. I wasn't laughing. The two worst though, Senior Year, which I just didn't like. I love Rebel Wilson. I think she's really, really funny. I was hoping she could bring this over the top for me. It was such a tonally inconsistent movie. I do like the parallel of High School 20 years ago compared to High School now. That was cool, but the humor was a huge miss. And then the worst of the worst, 365 Days This Day, the second film in what is looking to be one of the worst trilogies, hope to God it stops at 3, of all time. These movies, Rachel, they're terrible. They try to be not terrible. They're so bad. It makes 50 Shades look like The Godfather. Okay? That's where I'm at on it. It's that bad.
Yeah.
Don't watch it.
I mean, it's not even like dishy fun. It's not.
No.
It looks terrible. Just watch Bridgerton instead.
Yes.
If you want something dishy.
Go watch Paint Dry. I mean, at this point, just
Paint Dry.
just watch.
I love that. The old Siskel and Ebert when they're like, I'd rather be alone in a alone staring at a wall. He's like,
yes.
Yeah, I'd be alone with my own thoughts. That would be fascinating.
Yeah, exactly. You could think
much better than this.
That's the thing about this story, Rachel. I know you may never watch it, but this is not a movie. It's a series of music videos with sex scenes. That's what it is. There's no plot. There's no cohesiveness. It was kind of a fun watch because it was so bad in this weird, almost demented way. But in terms of an actual cohesion of the plot, there's nothing there. Yeah. So yeah, that is by far the worst thing I've seen on streaming this year, for sure.
All right. Well, I wanted to mention real quick on PBS, All Creatures Great and Small, season 2. It was so good. I absolutely loved it.
Okay.
So well done. I know that listeners of the show will love All Creatures Great and Small, season 1 and 2. Wonderful. It's about this veterinarian in like the early turn of the century, and his in the Yorkshire, England, and I don't know, it's just so charming. It's cute. Nice. There's a really great romance, and I love the other 2 people that he works with in the veterinarian practice are really fun, and it's a great show. People should check it out. I loved season 2 as much as season 1. But then there was Sanditon season 2 on PBS, and it was terrible, and I hated it.
What?
So don't watch it.
Wow, I remember you talking about season 1.
I didn't like the first season, but I thought, okay, they've like it's been basically like crowdfunded. People wanted it. Yeah. Season 2, I thought, okay, they're going to fix the mistakes that they made because it was too try hard in season 1. They were trying too hard to be edgy and different, and because they have this unfinished Jane Austen novel, so they can do whatever they want with the story. And where they went with it was just so stupid. And it was like Andrew Davies, who was done like Pride and Prejudice and just all of these incredible series. It was like, did you forget how to write a romance? Because what are you doing? And I especially hated all the sub characters. There's this character named Esther. Anytime she's on the show, I just cringe. She's terrible. and then they bring it back for season 2. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch it because they're going to fix it. They're going to make it better than the problems in season 1. No, they literally like repeat the same problems completely over again. And the ending was so maddening. I was like, are you kidding me?
Oh no. That's the worst.
It was so bad. I hated it. Like, sure, it looks nice, but that's all I really got for it. I really didn't like it. Okay. And then I thought was kind of super disappointing was on Showtime, super pumped, The Battle for Uber. I thought this is going to be great. I love Kyle Chandler so much. He's me too. One of my favorites. And Joseph Gordon-Levitt is so good, and just looked great, but it was so bland. It was so boring. They did nothing like with this interesting story. It was a big disappointment for me.
Yeah, I heard a lot of that about that going into it, and my plans were to review the season, but I never found time to do it. But and I never looked at the reception, so that's kind of like dang, because that cast is amazing and that story looked interesting. I like the trailers, so yeah, man, that's kind of that kind of bums me
I
out.
literally got Showtime to watch it because
Oh
it looked so
wow,
good.
oh wow,
I
yeah.
signed up because I was like, oh, that sounds that's it seemed like it was it seemed like it was guaranteed to be a success, but it
Uh-huh.
just shows the script. It's got you got to have the script
Ah,
because
yeah.
the scripts were just so bland. It was just like it felt like going to a bunch of business meetings every episode. Like there was just
Mm.
I don't know.
I'm waiting for
Um
Joseph Gordon-Levitt to make that comeback, and I thought this would
yeah.
be it. I thought this would
Yeah,
be
me
it.
too.
Ah.
And the last thing I wanted to talk about was on Stars. Outlander season 6 was so good.
Mm.
It left on a kind of a bit of a cliffhanger. I loved the final episode of the season. I mean, I just it was I was so invested in the characters, and I think that um Catriona Balfe is so good in this show. I don't know if she's been nominated for Emmys or stuff, but she should be. She's great. I think that Jamie and Claire have such good chemistry. I mean, you just feeling it so much, and I know it's just it was great. I thought it was very well done, season 6, and we've been waiting so long for season 6,
Mm.
so it was very exciting. Hopefully, we don't have to
I
wait
am
for season
I am
7.
I'm only on season 2 of Outlander. But my wife just recently started watching it last month. She's already on season 4, which
Yeah,
tells you how much she is loving this show. So
so
I need
good.
to play catch up. I've heard nothing but good things. And so what'd you say? How many seasons do we know how many they're going to have total?
I don't know, but I know that they're gonna have 7,
Okay.
season 7. They've
Okay.
announced that. So, and I think they're even like filming it and stuff. So I don't think we will have to wait as long. But that was
Gotcha.
brutal, and we waited 3 years, I think, for in
Jeez.
between 5 and 6.
I need to play catch up because everybody says this show's amazing.
Yeah, and like I said, Katrina Balfe is so good, and her
Mm-hmm.
chemistry with Sam Hugan is really good. And I also loved this season the storyline between Brianna and Roger
All
was
right.
so good, and there's a plot thread with them. They don't know whether the son is his son
Okay.
because of things that happen, and they make our discovery in the finale, as the season finale, that was so heartwarming. It's the only time I've ever seen lice being used for like a heartwarming moment on a television show.
Oh,
But it
wow.
was.
Okay. Okay.
It was so sweet. I was like, yay! It's definitely a spicy show, so it won't be for everybody. But I really enjoyed it. I finally caught up with because I'd heard like you, I'd heard from so many people how good it was,
Yes.
and so I watched it, and it was great.
My wife's obsessed. Like, when I say obsessed, I mean, I will walk into the bedroom and she'll be like, "It was such a good episode." And I'm like, I guess I need to catch up because this is like really high praise from someone who walks out of every movie and says, "That was okay." Even if she
Yeah.
loved it, she'll just say, "That was okay." But this, she's like, "Oh my God." So I'm like, all right, I gotta watch the show. I gotta watch it.
I
So we'll see.
think we need to do a Outlander bonus episode with your wife.
Oh, her obsession knows no bounds with the show
Yeah.
right now. So I think she would love that.
Okay, let's do it. Well, there we go. Did you have anything else that you want to talk about?
No, nothing that I can think of. Just to recap in totality, though, we've talked about some really great things
Yeah.
in today's podcast. Like, there are genuine, and there are so many streaming services and streaming services that we
Yeah.
didn't even talk about, like Peacock and Paramount
Yeah,
Plus.
Paramount.
But overall, I mean, at least 2 to 3 great projects per streaming service that you all could check out, and hopefully this will tide you over because we're supposedly getting some great things down the line this year. So our best lists could look completely different by year's end, and that's very
I
exciting.
mean, if I can just get a few more people to watch All Creatures Great and Small, Arcane, Cuphead Show,
Oh, yeah.
RRR,
Oh yeah,
Tick Tick Boom, Only
Oh, yeah.
Murders in the Building. I mean, Heartstopper.
Yeah.
I'll be
we have
happy
a
with my life.
couple weeks. We have Love Victor. We have which I'm watching the
Mhm.
new season of right now, and I believe Only Murders is this month, right? It's the end of June, season 2.
Mhm. Yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm so excited.
that's super
So,
super exciting.
if you're listening, let us know what you think of all the different things we talked about. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comment section or on Twitter. And Austin, where can people find you?
Yeah, you guys can find me on YouTube, just my name, Austin Burke. Twitter and Instagram at the Burkinator, and I am trying to do TikTok.
Oh my
Austin
gosh.
loves movies. I don't know how to do it, but I'm trying to be like the kids. It's lit. So if you have TikTok, that's where I am.
Check it out. Well, you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all over social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. Check that out. Also, make sure that you're following the podcast at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all over social media. And if you're listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews 5 stars. It really helps us a lot. And if you are watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We'd really appreciate that. We also have the Patreon group where we have tons of fun patron events where you get to meet Hallmark stars and other fun things. So definitely check out the Patreon and also the merch store, which we have tons of fun designs. And we really appreciate it. And thanks so much, Austin, for coming on.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, we'll talk to you all later. Bye, everyone.